here we are. We are actually almost done with the series already. It's only 6 movies, and we're already up to number 5. Crazy! It literally feels like we just started this not too long ago. But we're getting close to the end now, and I gotta say, good or bad, this series has always been fascinating, and I will always cherish those first 2 movies. So, let's talk about this next one. And it's uneven one. I think it is one of the most bizarre entries in the series. It goes back to basics and being very predictable, and it has a lot of problems, including one scene in particular that triggered me pretty badly. So, let's talk about it as best as I can. That way, the ending doesn't seem so out of nowhere. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to AnimeStation, Animators Are Family Animation, Queen TV and Movies. I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome to my review of the 5th movie in the Hammer Frankenstein series known as Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. One of the cheesiest titles ever. I don't really have much else to say before diving into the actual review, beside the fact that this movie is very uneven. And the score I'm going to give it may or may not surprise some of you after you hear some of my bitching. But let me say right now, this movie's not bad. I know that what I'm about to do may or may not contradict that, but trust me, this movie's not bad. It's not bad at all, it just has some bad parts. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Getting closer to the end of the series, only 2 more to go, so let's knock out the better one first. After the nutty bizarreness of Created Woman, Hammer decided to once again veer in a completely different direction by returning to more familiar ground. Not by copying anything from Universal, thankfully, but still being pretty predictable and by the books as far as these Frankenstein movies usually go. The whole usual brain swapping thing, which has already been done 1,000 times before, so nothing new. And unfortunately, it's to the film's detriment, as the story in this one is both way too convoluted and just flat out bad, which isn't helped by the side characters being very boring and the pacing being so uneventfully slow. This is what I mean by the movie being uneven. It starts out looking like the absolute worst of the entire series. Because the plot's bad, too convoluted, makes no sense, it's retreading old ground that we've already done before, and it has little to nothing actually unique about it. Aside from one thing, and unfortunately it's the worst part of the movie, and it's something that I have to rant about, so... minor 18 plus cursing warning here, because this part I'm very angry about, so you have been warned. But there's no dancing around it any longer, because it's by far the worst part of the movie. There's a scene where Frankenstein rapes the main female character, Anna. This scene is awful for numerous reasons. The act itself being absolutely reprehensible and extremely out of character for Frankenstein. It literally has nothing to do with his experiment, so why the fuck is it even in there? The fact that it wasn't even in the dance script, like, if it's not in the script, don't put it in the fucking movie. Like, seriously. That both actors and director Terrence Fisher didn't want to do it at all, but was forced to do it anyway by a piece of shit executive producer. Like, all of them hated it. All of them completely hated this scene. They hated filming it, they hated doing it, and they didn't want to do it. But for some, whatever stupid fucking reason, some piece of shit executive producer made them do it. Like, everyone hated it. Veronica Carlson hated it. Fucking Peter Cushing hated it. Terrence Fisher hated it. They all hated this scene, they did not want to do it. But because of this one piece of shit executive producer I'm not going to name, because he deserves no recognition whatsoever, they had to do it anyway. And you can tell that by just watching the scene. And most of all, that's said producer's excuse for including it. Sexing up the movie. Sex it up with a disturbing, horrible rape scene that comes out of nowhere and doesn't fit what the fuck is going on? Oh, that was real smart on your end, Mr. Producer. I hope you're now fired. This is the absolute worst scene in the entire Hammer filmography, Frankenstein or otherwise, and may that producer forever rot in hell. So, I've bashed this one so much, you're probably wondering what could be worth redeeming about it. Well, despite all these huge flaws, everything else in the movie here is surprisingly great. Like, no joke. Cushing is always continuing to knock it out of the park. The acting is still pretty good from everyone involved. The opening is cheesy B-movie fun with Frankenstein killing someone to get more body parts for his experiments. The third act is amazing. I really can't go into detail why, it wouldn't do it justice. You just gotta see it for yourself. Which is then followed by the best ending of the entire Hammer Frankenstein series. Once again, I can't go into too much detail because that's a spoiler, but trust me when I say it is the best ending of the entire series, and it's an ending that, yes, has been done before, but it fits this movie so well, and it does so much to help me overlook all this movie's massive problems. Honestly, the third act saves a huge majority of this one's issues, and while that scene can forever rot in hell, like, seriously, fuck that rape scene, I fucking hate it, it's a great sequel nevertheless. It's greatly saved by the third act. Like, literally, this is a movie that's literally saved by an amazing third act. Outside, if it didn't have that third act, this would probably be a 3, because the majority of this movie is pretty bad, but that third act is so good and so memorable, I'm willing to overlook pretty much all the other movie's faults for it. And because of that, the final verdict is an 8 out of 10. This is the closest that they ever got to recapturing the greatness of the original 2 movies. But the next one, however, irredeemable fucking trash. I'm not looking forward to it. But we have to talk about all of them. And this is the last one of the series, and it ends on a wet fart. I'll tell you all about next time when we dive into the pits of hell with Frankenstein and the monster from hell. Nothing else to say. See you in that review. Prepare for a lot of yelling.